Hello everybody, welcome to Simply Scrapbooked. Today we are going to make what I like to call the open square layout. It's very easy. It's another nice simple one. And what you're going to need are 2 pages for your background because it's a 2-page layout. I like a nice little pattern, or if your background is patterned, then you want a solid, so you want opposites here. A little cardstock for mats, a journal box, your repo tape runner, a laser border, your trimmer, and a few stickers. All right, so let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut our mats real quick. So I'm going to cut these at 3.5. I need to cut 2 of those. And then you're going to come around and make 3.5-inch squares out of them. So you're going to cut it 3.5 again. Okay. So now I've got more than enough 3.5-inch squares for this layout. So I'm going to set them aside over here. Now, your background papers, you're just going to leave those alone. And you're going to take your paper that's going to make the open squares. So the first thing you're going to do is take this arm out so you can cut to 6 inches. So cutting this paper in half. And then put them together. Go to 6 inches again. So you've cut it in half, then cut it in half again, and now you have 4 squares. Okay, so now what we're going to do with these squares, because this is a designer paper, so it's more lightweight, I'm going to cut 2 at a time just to save a little time. If you're using cardstock for this, I recommend you cut them 1 at a time, and you will soon see why. So I'm going to line this up on the 1-inch mark that's over here to the right of where it cuts. Now reminder, this line is where it's cutting, and this the edge of the housing is 1 inch out. So when I say start at 2 inches, I'm talking about the edge of the housing. You're actually cutting at 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to bring this to the edge of the housing is 2 inches, and I'm going to cut till the edge of the housing gets to 6, and then I'm going to stop. So the blade doesn't cut until you're pushing it down. So now we have a little slit in there. I'm going to turn it. And like I was saying, the blade doesn't cut until it's pushed down. So I can move it all along here and it's not going to cut anything until I push down at 2 inches and then take it all the way to 6. So I'm really cutting at 1 and 5. But the housing is going to 2 and 6. So then I'm going to turn it again, start it at 2, cut to 6. Start in here at 2 and cut to 6. And what you should have then are 2 frames and 2 squares. Pretty easy, huh? Let's do it again. So at the 1-inch mark, so I'm actually cutting at 1 inch, but the housing is at 2. I'm cutting 2 5 inches, but the housing goes to 6. And then I'm going to turn it. Put the housing at 2, go all the way to 6 with the housing. Start at 2, go all the way to 6. And last cut, start at 2 and go all the way to 6. So again, you've got 2 more frames and 2 more mats. So now you should have 4 frames and 4 mats. The last thing we're going to do with our cutter is we're going to take our laser border and we're going to cut it into 3-inch little strips. So I'm going to line it up there to 3 inches and cut. Then I'm going to line that up to 3 inches cut. And then 3 inches and cut again. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do on this little part right here, how these leaves are kind of halfway there. I'm just going to trim those off. There we go. And I think this one, I'll cut off these half leaves as well. There we go. So now I've got 4 nice pieces to work with. And that's all we're doing with our trimmer. The rest of it is putting it together. How fast was that? All right, so we're gonna take our background paper, and I'm gonna work on one side first and then the other. So we're gonna take 2 of our frames and 2 of our mats, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna stick them down like this. So they're overlapping right here, lined up all the way across, lined up all the way down. I'm gonna try to center it a little bit. You know, I am not a measurer. I would guess it's about 3/4 of an inch, maybe a 1/2 inch, somewhere in between there in from the top and the bottom. But I am the person who says that my future generations will not care if things are perfectly centered or not. So I'm just going to get things down on the paper. I think that's the important thing, and then telling the story is definitely a big deal. So I'm going to put this somewhere between a 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch in. Then I'm going to take this one, do the same. I am using the repo tape runner so that if I get it on there really super crooked or something, I can move it. So I'm lining it up there where the lines will run straight across. And then I'm going to take my 2 mats. I'm going to put these down in here. It's really important to use your repo tape runner here, because if your photos don't come out to be 3x3 photos, I'm always the person who says cut to the picture, not to your design. So if your pictures don't fit to 3x3 pictures, you can always move this a little bit and then offset the picture, like offset it like that, so that part of the background shows, but it doesn't have to go all the way around. All right, so that's one side. Now for the other side of our layout, I'm going to do opposite. I'm going to put the top one up here and the bottom one down here. So it's going to be like that. Okay? So let me stick these down. I don't know if you know this, but the repositionable tape runner gets more permanent over time. So you may be thinking, you know, oh, you can reposition it. I want my stuff to stay put once I put it in there. I don't want it falling out. It's not going to. You can still reposition things after a good deal of time, but it does become permanent. Okay. And as you can see, I didn't quite hit my lines here as far as it being exactly lined up, but I'm really not concerned. Let me put my little mats on real quick, and then we'll start decorating. There we go. All right, so there we have our 2 pages. So now I'm going to take the laser border, and I'm going to be putting it somewhere right in here. Okay, and then I'm going to take my stickers. I think I like this one right here. And a little trick I've learned is if you take it and just stick it to your hand a little bit, it'll take the stickiness off. Some people use cornstarch or baby powder to do that, to take the sticky off. I don't like the idea of having cornstarch or powder in my albums. Maybe I'm being overly precautious, but I would rather just take the sticky off by rubbing it on my hand and being done. So let me get another foam square, if I can find them real quick. They've disappeared. Okay, let me grab some more foam squares real quick. All right. There we go. So now I've got some more foam squares. So I'm going to put a couple foam squares on my little saying here. And I'm going to put that right here in the middle. And I think I'm just going to bring that on this one. I'm going to bring those in right behind it. And then I've got another little saying over here. There we go. Take the backings off. And I'm going to put that one in right about there. Now you've seen me do this before, but I like to use these little envelopes that pictures come in sometimes as my my scrap paper for my laser borders. Because, you know, sometimes when you run it down an outline like this, it's going to leave some behind. Oh, that was regular tape runner. Hang on. Time out. Since it's fresh, it should come off pretty easy. Or I can fold it under. Well, this will prove to you that I don't know how to edit, right? All right, so now I've got all that extra tape runner off. May not get it off my fingers, but I've got it off. There we go. Got one right here in the middle I want to get. There we go. All right, that tape runner is not it. This tape runner is the repo tape runner. Okay, so I'm just going to run it down. It sticks where it's supposed to. It doesn't stick where it's not supposed to. And I'm going to add that border in just under there a little bit. And then I'm going to get this one and do the same thing. There we go. And then I'm going to come over to the other side one more time. And put it right in there. Now, the last thing I need on this page is my journal box and my other mats. So here's my journal box. I kind of like the idea of putting a journal box up here. So to get some of this to show, I am going to move it. Let me go ahead and stick this on it, make it a little easier to work with. Like right there. And then I'll stick this whole thing down. And I'm going to move it up just a little bit up there. Okay. And then these little guys, your mats that we cut at the very beginning, I'm just going to put those on with a little piece of tape in the middle so that if I do need to offset them because my picture's a little larger, or if I want to cut a different mat, I'm not married to what I have. There we go. There we go. All right. So there we have our 2-page layout. Everything you need. Places for pictures, journal box, a little bit of decoration. Very, very simple, very, very easy, very, very fast. So let me show you a couple of the other designs that I've done with this same layout. Okay, so here's one from a snow day. Got my journal box down here, got my snowflakes, a little bit of decoration, then my saying in the middle. Same thing on this side. See how I offset the pictures? I did go on and mat them here, and this mat fills up the whole box. So sometimes you need a larger mat, and that's okay. This one fit in the 3.5 by 3.5 box. So you can adjust as you go. This one I didn't cut at all, so it fits right in the middle of the photo of the frame. All right, let me show you another one. Okay, here's another one. This time I used 2 prints, but this one is a very, very light muted print. There are circles on here that you can barely see. There's my laser border, little decorations in the middle. There's my journaling, and we're all good to go. And there's one more layout. Here's my bonus Disney extra layout. Right there. All right, so there you have it. 4 different ideas from cutting 4 little open squares and some mats. See you next time on Simply Scrapbooked.